Today on the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm your host, Chris Carter. We go over the first week of training camp for the Pittsburgh Steelers and why the rookies have looked so good. Also, first day in pads coming up. We'll talk about that and an update on George Pickens and Zach Azzanni, all here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things in the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find the show on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. We thank you for making us your first listen every day because we're your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, all customers, and that means all customers at FanDuel, can get a boost or a bonus every single day. That's right. Whether you're a new customer, whether you're an old customer, all you have to do is go to FanDuel.com right now, and you can see the daily boost that you get on there. More on that later. All right, Steelers fans, let's get into it. Now, just a reminder here for everyone, if you want daily updates, you got to make sure that you're checking out the shorts that we publish here on my YouTube or on my Instagram or on my TikTok at Carter Critiques for all of that, or you can get my daily tweets also at Carter Critiques on X/Twitter. But so there's that as well. But I wanted to get you guys back updated with what's going on. The first week of camps are in the books. They're off today on Monday. They're back at it on Tuesday when we know the pads are going on, and there's a lot of excitement for that. Now, we'll skip right past the quarterback situation. If you haven't been paying attention, Justin Fields has been practicing as QB1. It's simply because Russell Wilson strained his calf during the conditioning situation where he was working a sled or something, and it led to it. But it's not considered a major injury, at least from what we've been told. And that means the Steelers are just kind of working with what they got right now, and they're kind of letting him rest and allowing Justin Fields to show himself more. And we've talked a lot about how Justin Fields has been up and down. That's Justin Fields. We'll see how he progresses. I'll see where he is at the end of camp when we take a real assessment. But the big thing that I want to talk about here on today's episode are the rookies, because this rookie class, I think, has shown some really good first steps to this year. And that doesn't always happen. We get kind of, last year we weren't sure about Broderick Jones. We weren't sure about Joey Porter Jr. He was hurt. A lot. Corey Trice got hurt. So we weren't sure how sure things are going to look there. We've seen other rookies start slow. At least for a first week of camp, these guys aren't starting slow. And I'll start with Troy Fautanu, who I made my player of the practice on Sunday, just yesterday. If you're watching and listening to this on Monday, I thought Troy Fautanu, again, it's not in pads, it's just football in shorts, but there was a couple plays early on where they thrust him in as the first team at right tackle, and he had to go up against TJ Watt, and he held his own. And again, it's just non-pads, it's just practice, but TJ Watt's coming at him, and he's bringing his full force, and he's able to stay in position, not be freaked out by all the different moves that TJ Watt uses, and stick to his fundamentals. And I thought that was a really good sign. So I want you to hear from Troy Fautanu himself when we asked him about that, about filling in. It seems to be a very minor injury for Broderick Jones. He should be back, probably on Tuesday when everything gets going. But listen to Troy Fautanu and how he talks, and he kind of sets the tone for the rest of the rookie class as far as how this is perceived. So here's Troy Fautanu when we got to talk to him on Sunday.
You get some reps against TJ Watt. Seemed like you were holding your own. What's it like going up against a guy like that and finding yourself doing well?
I mean, guys like that, it's super hard to predict what they're going to do, no matter how much studying you do. I mean, you can kind of pick up some tendencies, but a guy that's elite like that, you got to be ready for anything. So that's what I'm just making sure I'm doing every time I go against him. So.
Troy, was that your most extensive work with the ones today?
Yeah. It was an opportunity, and I feel like I made the most of it. I got to clean up some things, can't false start, stuff like that, things I can control. So I'm hard on myself, so, things like that overshadow some of the things I did today. So hopefully I'll fix that come next week.
Did you know it was coming, or was that because Broderick got hurt a little bit?
Yeah, Brod was shaking up a little bit, so coach just called my number, and I was ready to go. So.
What do you think of the whole lap thing?
What was that?
What do you think of the whole running lap?
I mean, it's holding us accountable, man. I mean, as high school as you think it is, I mean, I don't want to run laps, so I'm going to try not to do that again. So.
Kicking yourself for that?
Yeah, I mean, things like that are things we can control. Like Coach T says it all the time. It's JV, you know what I mean? It's college. I'm a pro now, so I got to treat every play like that. Make sure I'm not doing little things to mess up play for 21 other people. So yeah.
What's your expectation, or what's the excitement you have to put the pads on? It's one thing to block guys with no pads, but now you guys get a chance to go live on Tuesday.
I just feel like the playbook opens up for a lot of, for the offense and being able to really run the ball and not have to worry about guys not being full padded or anything like that. It's full go. So I'm just ready to compete. I know I got to bring my A game.
So there's a lot there from Troy Fautanu. I want to circle back because you might have heard the part about running laps. And yes, players are running laps right now in practice. That's not a typical thing in the pros. People kind of think that's juvenile. Oh, you don't need to do that because you're professional. The Steelers aren't doing that. If you jump offsides, false start, fumble, make a big mistake, you got to go run a lap around the field in front of the crowd, in front of everybody. And the other side, if you're on offense or defense, the other side kind of like, jeers you into doing it, like Denzel Martin, the outside linebackers coach. He kind of leads the charge for the defense. If someone jumps false start, he's like, get out of here, go! And he kind of tells them to run. And there's kind of like a sense like, I hate this whenever someone messes up. But again, accountability. And I think that's something the Steelers are trying to put into this offense that's a young offense and it's trying to adapt, like Troy Fautanu, like Broderick Jones, even as a second year, like Zach Frazier. So I thought that was good. And again, I liked what I saw of Troy Fautanu without the pads. Now I'm eager to see what he can do with the pads on, as he is. And I think that's going to be really interesting to see here. But by and large, the offense, there's a lot of things missing with the offense. They can't really run the ball because the pads are off, so they can't go full strength in the run game. They haven't had the starting quarterback that's supposed to be commanding this offense even take a single snap yet in full 11-on-11. And so there's a lot to kind of like, hold back and be like, okay, can't truly evaluate everything on either side. But again, I think it's the maturity. If you were paying attention to my daily updates, my daily reports, I thought Roman Wilson looked really good over the first week. I thought he took a major step up from where he was at the end of pro days and minicamp, not pro days, OTAs and in minicamp. I thought Payton Wilson looked real good. We'll talk to him and Roman Wilson later in this show. We'll have clips of them talking. I didn't get a chance to really evaluate Zach Frazier. He kind of stayed with the second team the whole time, and he did have one bad snap. But I think that he's a guy that when the pads go on, there's going to be a lot of excitement there. We did get a chance to chat with him during camp, but it's I think we're still kind of figuring out where he is. But I want to get to the pads part because I do think there's some legitimate excitement for this team that's supposed to be a physical team about putting these pads on, seeing who's the strongest, proving where everyone really is when it comes to playing live football against each other. We'll get into that next here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Stick with us. We still got a lot to discuss. But first, I want to remind you this show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the #1 sportsbook in America. I love sports, and there's plenty of action going on right now. But that doesn't mean that means that you shouldn't miss out on any of it. With FanDuel, you can be locked in on all that action and have your best plays in Major League Baseball, the WNBA, all the big fights going on, and the Olympics, which are going on for the next few weeks. All I have to do is open up my app on FanDuel right on my phone or go to their website, FanDuel.com, and you can make bets anytime you're in the mood. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a booster or a bonus every single day. That's right. There's something for everyone, whether you're a new customer or you're a returning customer. All summer long, there's an everyday boost that you can use. So head over to FanDuel.com right now and start making the most out of your summer. That's FanDuel, official sportsbook betting partner of Major League Baseball. We're back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. We continue today's show where we talk about the first week of Steelers training camp. Now, again, there's a lot of excitement for the pads to go on because people want to prove it. And it's not just the rookies that are anxious to get there first. I mean, it's some of the young veterans on this team that are still looking to prove themselves. And one's a person that I've brought up on this show before, and that's DeMarvin Leal. And he's a guy who last year could have been a comeuppance year for him. It wasn't. He, was healthy with a healthy scratch the second half of the season. A lot of people started writing him off, calling him a bust already. But the more and more I heard from just around the team, there was a bit of a quiet excitement or a cautious excitement for what he could be this year. And again, in this first, just no pads. It's no pads. It's just kind of figuring things out. DeMarvin Leal has looked a lot sharper in this first week of practices than he has in prior years with the Steelers. He's been in the right places. He's been quick off the ball. He's lost some weight, and he's been very active. He's been batting passes down, getting after the quarterback. I think he's taken some real steps. Here was our chance when we got to catch up with him this past weekend and see what he's been able to work on.
Like it's helping, like you feel like you're moving faster. Since I'm back to the line, it makes helps you move that much quicker.
Getting with Coach Dunbar, Coach Denzel, Mike T, and other defensive line coaches, and just getting after it and not thinking too much.
Physically, have you reported in any different shape this year than in past summers?
In shape, yeah.
Did you feel like you weren't last year on these?
It's not the fact that I wasn't in shape. I just feel like, you know how you have those, when you come out of college, you feel like your body isn't completely healthy there, or just there where you want it to be just yet. That's what it is. So just feel 100%.
Where are you at weight-wise right now?
Weight-wise?
Yeah.
I say ask the coaches.
So, you think your last year was a disappointing year, and this year's?
Last year was a learning year. I wouldn't say disappointing. This is a blessing, you know? It's a blessing just to be out on this field and just doing what I do the best and doing what I love. So it's a learned lesson. We learned. Now we're here.
Did you get a lot of explanation why they weren't using you again the last year?
You know, just run stopping. Got to focus on that technique, you know. It's a new defense. It was a new defense for me for a good little minute. Now it's not. So, like I said, I'm here.
So there was DeMarvin Leal there, and the run stuff, and you hear that being an emphasis for why he wasn't on the field last year, and it's that physicality. And this is another reason why I think Tuesday and Wednesday, because I think they're in pads the first 2 days of this new week, that it's going to be really exciting to see this, because there's going to be a lot of guys looking to prove themselves. Leal and Benton especially. I think if those two really come along at the same time, this defensive line can be a very big problem for the foreseeable future for the Steelers. And really it's a problem for everyone else, but it's the Steelers that are going to be bringing it. And this defensive line has needed new young guys on it to kind of reliven it back up. Cam Hayward's still there. Larry Ogunjobi's still there, but they need new young guys. They're going to carry the torch. They can, take the torch and start carrying it forward. And Benton has been really impressive. A lot of people have really liked him, but everyone was waiting to see, what about DeMarvin Leal? Or do they need to go get another defensive lineman in this next draft class in the first round? And again, we're not going to say they don't just yet, but I think it's a good sign that DeMarvin Leal is impressing at this point. If he can impress with the pads on and he can create pressure, win at the point of attack, get in the backfield, all those things can go a long way to proving his point that he's just been kind of coming along the way. And it's also important to remember he came into the league very young. He came in at a very young age. He only played 3 years of college. One of those was a red shirt. So I think this is a guy who has been developing. And on the flip side of it, there's guys who are rookies that are coming in at a different age that are also ready to hit. And one of them is Payton Wilson, who, in my opinion, has had a stellar training camp. He forced a fumble on Sunday when he was going after Pat Freiermuth. He's been in his spot a lot. He hasn't, when you see him playing, you don't see the wheels turning when he's playing. You just see him reacting. And that's such a good thing. What I mean by that is oftentimes when I watch young linebackers who are trying to adapt to the NFL speed and trying to adapt to all the things they have to think about, linebacker can be so tough because you have to read the gaps. You have to read the offensive lineman. Is it a run? Is it a pass? Which way are they running? Which gap have I got to go to? Oh, which lineman do I have to watch out for? And oh, wait, is it a pass? Okay, do I have to take the tight end? Do I have to take the running back? If it's the wide receiver, how deep do I need to drop back to handle it? There's all these things you have to process. And a lot of times you'll see linebackers kind of like slowly step and not be sure where they're going. And you feel what I'm saying is that they're unsure, and it's because they're still thinking and they're not at that NFL playing speed yet. Payton Wilson doesn't have that problem in these practices. And again, it's just practices. But right now, he looks like he is just so in tune with what's being asked of him. Deshaun Elliott called him the most mature rookie player he's ever seen. I think he's been very impressive both on the field and off the field. When you hear the maturity in his answers, he seems to take accountability for everything that he does, whether it's right or wrong. He seems to be ready. He doesn't seem to be taking any high praises for doing the things that he thinks are expected of him at this point. I continue to say this. I said this going into the draft. I said this when the Steelers drafted him. I said Payton Wilson could be the best linebacker in this draft class if he's healthy enough and he doesn't, and his injuries that happened earlier in college don't carry over into the NFL too much. And the Steelers, at least right now, I think are very excited about what they're seeing. But maybe you're going to be excited too when you listen to him. Take a listen to Payton Wilson when he got to talking. And we do get into the end here. Stick through the whole thing, because toward the end, we ask him about what's coming with the pads going on, and specifically with backs on backers, which is always the most fun drill of when the pads go on. So here's Payton Wilson.
What are you learning from Patrick Green?
I mean, he's a football junkie. Football has a lot of X's and O's, but when it comes to being a really good player, it's certain things you pick up along the way, the experience, and just certain little things that he's able to show me today. I missed a pick, but I should have had one, and he comes right over to me. He's like, "Look, your feet are like this, your feet are like this," and just simple stuff like that. And he's one of the best people I've ever been around, to be at that stature and be so humble and giving. I mean, I'm super blessed to have him.
Mike mentioned that you were really well conditioned coming in here, and that maybe kind of helped you jump on the moving train faster. Do you feel like things are easier because of your level of conditioning?
Yeah, I mean, I think motors, that's one of my best attributes. That's something I take pride in. Just, like I said all the time, if there's 75 plays, I want to have 75 tackles, and that's how I train. Every single offseason, everything that I do is at 100%. So that's just who I am, and that's how I'm going to be.
Do you feel like the coverage responsibilities are a lot different, or just the way that you have to kind of adjust to the NFL passing games, forces you to think a different way in your processes?
Yeah, definitely.
When you put the pads on, how much is that going to change? What do you think you want to show with pads on?
Yeah.
That obviously you haven't been able to show out here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a linebacker, so Tuesday is going to be a lot more fun than these past 4 days for me. I just can't wait to put on the pads and play ball. These are like, I call them underwear practices, just a little bit fake. Coach Tomlin says it all the time. It's not football, it's football-like. So Tuesday it'll be football, so we'll be able to see who can play and, see who can continue to show out.
Has anybody told you about backs on backers yet?
Yeah, definitely. I'm super excited. You talking about flat tackle over there on the sideline?
No, the drill they'll do Tuesday.
Oh, no.
Pass rush, pass pro, backs on backers.
We do. I've done it my whole life. I'm super excited just to compete. Naj, Jalen Warren, two amazing blocking backs, two massive backs. Just every day I come out here, I'm super humbled and blessed to be able to compete against the best in the world.
Normally, when they do that, Mike looks to match up the rookies with specific players. Is there anyone you can told, like, hey, you're going up against him on Tuesday?
Nah, not yet. Whoever's out there, I'm going to go out there and compete at the highest level that I possibly can.
So Payton Wilson answering all the questions very well there. I think it was very interesting. One thing I will tell y'all, Mike Tomlin absolutely has the matchup art. He already wants. You're going to see probably him go 22-41, get in there. He's going to tell Najee Harris to line up with Payton Wilson, or maybe he'll have like Perrine. He might work his way up, but he has matchups plotted out. He's like, I want to see these guys hit. And remember, it's not just colliding and hitting. It's the practice of, you have a spot to defend to protect your quarterback as a running back. As a linebacker, you're blitzing. They want to see how you take this on. It's a big part of the game, and it's one of the tests that how do you handle the physicality of the game. And that stuff's going to be very exciting to see. So, from Liao to Fautanu to Frazier to Wilson, there's a lot of excitement on the physical side of things that I think everyone really wants to see, happen with this Steelers team coming up in the next couple of days here on Tuesdays when the pads go on. Be sure to get out to St. Vincent College. By the way, if you are there, don't be afraid to say hi. A lot of you already have, and I think everyone who does. I even got someone to say, let's get into it to get my attention. Thank you for everyone who is a fan of this show and shouts me. It means the world to me when y'all say hey and what's up. Even if I'm busy, if I can't get to you right away because I'm scrambling and stuff, please understand, it's just part of the business. But I appreciate every single one of our viewers, our listeners, our fans who want to say hi. And it means a lot to meet people because there's people all over the country that make it to Steelers camp and that love this stuff, even outside the country. We had someone from France last year. So thank you to everyone who does say hi. I want to get to the receiver position because we're talking about all this physicality, but something that I touched on the Friday episode was George Pickens and the sort of, heated tension with Zach Azzanni, the Steelers receivers coach, because how he's pushing him. I want to revisit that because we talked to George Pickens and I specifically asked him about Azzanni, and I thought it was interesting how he responded, as well as talking with Roman Wilson, who again, I think has been playing very well in this first week of training camp. We'll get to all that next here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Stick with us. We still got a lot to discuss. But first, I want to remind you this show is brought to you by Game Time. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful, and that's where Game Time can help you book tickets to your favorite sporting events and so much more. It's summer, and that means it's baseball season, so go get tickets to your favorite ball club and where they play in their next game at Game Time. Whether you're in Pittsburgh and you want to see the rookie phenom Paul Skeens pitch on the mound for the Pirates, or you're in Los Angeles, you want to watch Shohei Ohtani be a world sensation for the Dodgers, Game Time has got you wherever you go. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets to all your favorite events, whether it's sports, music, comedy, theater, or anything near you. You get killer deals on last-minute tickets and can save up to 60% off when you buy tickets at the last minute for all the different events there. Game Time also has the best price guarantee, where if you find tickets in the same section in a row for less somewhere else, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference of those prices. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase, or go to their website, gametime.co. Terms and conditions apply. Create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm your host, Chris Carter. We continue today's episode going into the wide receiver position. We've talked a lot about physicality, but let's talk about the receivers. For one, Roman Wilson has been playing well. We'll get to Pickens and Azzanni in a second, but the way we talked to Roman Wilson I thought was very interesting, and we end on an Azzanni question because Zach Azzanni, I think the way that he pushes players, and we talked about how this on Friday, if you missed the Friday episode, a quick recap, George Pickens, Zach Azzanni is the new wide receivers coach. He's more hands-on. He's in your face. He's on your case. He's challenging every little thing. If you do 99% of your job correctly on a play, but he will criticize you on that 1% that you did not do. And that's kind of how he works. And it's something that's been welcomed by guys like Calvin Austin, guys like Roman Wilson. George Pickens on the first day of practice on Thursday wasn't feeling that as much. And so there was a little bit of tension reported by multiple people in the media when they saw like some little bit of back and forth. Since then, I have not seen that from George Pickens. I've seen him kind of take the coaching head on. The first day after that Friday, he wasn't in the warm-up lines that Zach Azzanni was in, and people were wondering was that a thing? But since then, it's kind of dissipated. So that's where that is. But I want to get to Roman Wilson because I brought this up at the end of mini camp and OTAs, and that I thought Roman Wilson struggled at times, but I also was like, let's give this guy the benefit of the doubt. He's a rookie. I loved his tape in Michigan. I think he has a lot of potential in the NFL, and I think that he just needs to get some adjustments in, and the way Zach Azzanni coaches, maybe we'll see some progress. And I'll tell you, in the first 4 practices, I saw progress every single day. I saw him getting off the ball really well, getting into his routes very well. His release was strong. His finish was strong. He was running his routes accurately. He was finishing plays. When the ball was put on him, he was bringing it and hauling it in, and he was finding ways to extend plays. He was also finding ways to toe tap. Again, not a sign that he's completely there and he's going to be Antonio Brown this year, but guess what? He's taking steps forward where someone wondering if he was going to take steps backwards. So we got a chance to catch up with Roman Wilson on Sunday. I want to let you listen to some of our conversation with him, specifically about how he's been working on and stay around, because we get to Zach Azzanni towards the end, and you hear him talk about how important he thinks Zach Azzanni is to his progress. Here's Roman Wilson.
What do you think's been a big difference from when you were first doing rookie camp and stuff like that to now?
Other than just working hard, I'm not really sure. When I got that time after OTAs, just go to work in the lab, and here I am. I feel a lot better. I feel a lot more confident. Just trying to get my mind right in the off season, and that's basically it. Just doing what I've been doing to get me here in the first place.
We talked on the most, as far as skills or anything else you want to improve.
Mainly my conditioning. That was a big factor for me. Coach Shalman preaches it every single day, so that's when I'm going to wake up. That's my first thought in my mind. Go ahead, dog.
Hey, Roman, we talked to George Pickens yesterday. He said he was really impressed with how you're picking it up. Just how has he kind of served as a leader for you and a mentor for you here?
Yeah, definitely a guy that leads by example, a guy that, I can talk to about routes, a friend, a guy I can call a friend first. Just a very nice, genuine guy, and just a great leader,
Yeah.
Very good.
First week of camp down, just how are you feeling?
Pretty good right now. We still got a long season to go, so, I'm really just focused on tomorrow.
What?
Might have to plead the fifth on that one. Appreciate that.
Where are you in your route team? Rookies take time to adjust to what NFL teams are asking of them. But like if you had to say 80%, 90%, 100%, where are you as far as knowing everything they kind of need you to do your job right now?
That's something I don't really think about. I don't think about where I am on my route tree or where I am in my development. Every day, every second, every meeting I go to, just try to get a little better every day. I don't believe anyone's perfect. Everyone can get better, so that's my mindset. Just get better every day.
One more, guys.
How's Zach Azzanni been as a coach so far as how he's pushed you and what challenged?
For me, very good. Very hard on me in OTAs. He taught me a lot of things that I could take into the summer and work on as well. And I feel like you can see it you can see it out here. You know, I feel like he's very impressed with me, and you know, I'm just very thankful to have a coach like that.
Okay, so for those who were watching on YouTube, or if you were listening on audio and you might have heard, wait, what was the random question? And he was like, I plead the fifth. So DeMarvin Leal comes into the scrum, and I forgot to say this beforehand. He takes my microphone and he goes in and he holds it, and he's like, no, go ahead, have people ask questions. And he kind of just holds my microphone, and I'm like, what is he doing? And then he comes, and then when it comes to him, he's like, he goes, who's better, you or GP? And he's saying George Pickens. And Micaiah Cherry, one of the amazing people of the Steelers PR staff, she was like, what? Just what is that? Who asked that? And you see Roman Wilson be like, I plead the fifth. Like, I'm not trying to start nothing right now, man. It was a funny moment. So that's to explain what happened there to Marvin Leal, a goofy person. He's a funny guy. But Roman Wilson, I thought it was interesting how you hear him talk about Zach Azzanni and how he's pushing him and how that's helping him. And again, I think that's what this wide receiver unit really needs. It's a lot of young guys, a lot of guys looking to make it. I think Calvin Austin, we heard how he was embracing it in OTAs. I think he's embracing it right now too. But I think Roman Wilson is starting to reap some of the benefits of it, at least in the early portions of training camp here so far. I also think George Pickens is. I think that he's starting to get a little bit sharper, because George Pickens has always been a playmaker, but now he needs to do the little things, right? And I think that's where it's really important. So we got a chance to talk to George Pickens for the first time in training camp. So here was George Pickens. You can pay attention, because eventually I do get to the Zach Azzanni question, and you kind of hear him talk about how, he likes the way he coaches, and he also talks about how it relates to how he had a position coach in college coach him in a similar way. But here's George Pickens.
What's your first impression of Coach Z, just working with him at the start of camp so far?
He's a great guy. High energy for sure.
He looks like he's, like you said, the high energy, not afraid to kind of get in your face, that kind of thing. What does a coaching style like that do for you? How does it help the wide receivers?
I kind of had, Coach Smart, Kirby Smart's kind of like that. So I kind of had a coach like that in college. So it's really no huge change for me. That's just, Coach Z personality.
You welcome that kind of challenge, though, when a coach does that for you?
I just welcome him, period. It's not really, like I said, I had a coach like that before, so it's really not a challenge.
George, what are you looking to improve on this year?
Really just making more plays. Last year, made a lot of plays. Just trying to, get the accolades that I deserve.
First couple of days, it seemed like he had Dante on you. What's that matchup been like going up against him?
He's a great guy. Dante's a fast corner, real fast corner. He can play the ball. It's like you can never really run away from him because he's fast. But as far as his skill set, super twitchy guy too. Yeah.
How much fun is it to see Calvin Austin, a guy you were drafted with? He obviously gets slowed down by injury, but he's had a lot of work here early on. What's it like to see him kind of step up into this role?
Yeah, that's like the most proud guy I am, right now, because me and Cal came in together. Like you said, injury. Now he's just thriving. You know what I mean? That's kind of like what I like to see. Me and Cal are kind of leading the room together. You know what I mean? So yeah.
What role does he fill for this wide receiver group? Does he have something that you guys are lacking as a unit?
Not really. He's just a position filler. He can do everything. He's fast. He can play the outside. He played outside at Memphis. He play inside. We motion him back and forth. He's a position filler for sure.
How rare is it to see a guy that's that size be able to do all of that? Split out wide, be in the slot, all of that.
Versatile. That's why I was like, when Kyle first got injured, I was just kind of waiting, and that's why I said I'm kind of, super proud of him now, just to see him thriving. Yeah.
What's Roman Wilson like, just as a guy who's learning? Does he ask you a lot of questions? How have you seen him growing as a rookie?
Yeah, a lot of questions, a lot of, when you're your rookie year, you're thinking about a lot. So not as much questions, but you can see his mind turning, like, you know what I mean? So just, guiding him in the right direction.
So a lot there to break down, but I think you hear George Pickens expressing appreciation for Zach Azzanni. I also thought it was interesting how much he praised Calvin Austin and Dante Jackson, saying like, hey, I can't just run away from Dante Jackson. I got to beat him and I got to make the play because his speed is too much. But he also praised Calvin Austin, saying like, look, that guy's not limited to a role. He's not limited to the slot. He can line up on the outside. He talked about how he played at Memphis. So not only is he acknowledging what he's seen from Calvin Austin here, what he knows of Calvin Austin in college, those two guys were drafted together and they're playing together. And I think that's a really really good sign for George Pickens. Now, other things I thought were interesting in that scrum, we asked about leadership. He said he wants to lead by example. That's kind of how he operates. I get the impression George Pickens doesn't want to be the vocal leader per se, but I think that's fine if he's playing really well and he upholds the standard of, being first in practice, running through, doing everything the position coach Zach Azzanni asks of him. If he does those things, I think that he's going to be just fine. I mean, I already think he is going to be just fine, but I think he'll be even better. And I think you'll see the culture of this receiver room really start to mold together in a very positive way. But I think, again, going back to my original point of this podcast, the rookies have looked good. Troy Fautanu's impressed. I haven't seen as much of Zach Frazier, but we'll see when the pads go on. I think that'll be his thing, his time to shine. Roman Wilson's looked good. Payton Wilson's looked very good. I think that this has been a class that's been impressive, and we've also seen good signs from guys like Broderick Jones, guys like DeMarvin Leal, and also the standard guys. Dante Jackson has looked real sharp. Patrick Queen has looked really sharp. I could go down the line. I could keep going about all the players that look good, but this was a good first week of camp, and we still didn't even see Russell Wilson play with the first team offense. And first team offense also won its first 7 shots of the summer on Sunday. So how will everything play out? We'll keep you up to date with that and everything else here on the Locked On Steelers podcast as training camp continues this Tuesday. But we will also have a lot more to break down. There's more things that happened over this weekend I kind of want to go back with. I'll do that with Matt Williamson of Steeler Nation Radio and here on the Locked On Podcast Network. A great guy. He's going to be on the show tomorrow. Tune in for that when I have my conversation with him. Thanks again for tuning into the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Carter Critiques. Read my work at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, post-gazette.com. Find me here every day, Monday through Friday, breaking down your Pittsburgh Steelers right here on the Locked On Steelers podcast.